very special moment now in our week, a pause for reflection perhaps, in terms of what Paula Radcliffe has achieved here at the London Marathon over the years. A three-time winner in 2002, 2003 and 2005. Of course, still the outstanding world record holder with 2:15.25 from 2003. A record which is well over a minute beyond what any other woman has ever come close to. So we'll have a chat with Paula about that. We have a video to play first of all as a quick reminder of what this young lady beside me, you like that, don't you, young lady? This young lady beside me
I only get that from you now.
Achieved all those years ago.
Reception for Paula Radcliffe. They came to see something special from the girl from Bedford, and she's produced the awards for, never mind, nobody else in the world as good as her in female athletics. We're not going to be made a little faster than this. Paula Radcliffe starting off to win the 2003 London Marathon. Watch the time, watch the clock. She's going to smash the world record. Absolutely, 2 hours, 15 minutes. Britain's best ever athlete. We have not really seen the likes of Paula Radcliffe in terms of, as Ron was making the point, cross country, track, road racing. What a moment this is. Her whole career has been one which the British public has followed closely. They've run every step with her at times. Thank you, Paula Radcliffe.
Well, those were special moments. You weren't trying in that 2015 race. Your head wasn't bobbing nearly enough.
I was enjoying it.
You were enjoying it, I know. A chance to enjoy it at last. We're joined by Hugh Brasher, of course, the race director, who has been very much the man behind this Spirit of London theme that has run through this week and of course will continue through Sunday and for years to come. And Hugh, I know you've got a few words you'd like to say.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can't help smiling at that performance. It really was incredible. It's a performance that the world still talks about 15 years later. I still think the world will be talking about it for a considerable length of time. I think the joy that it brought to the public and women in particular. I know in 2013 I was working in a sports shop selling running shoes, and the next day the spike in the number of women who immediately started running has never happened. I was working in that store for 30 years. If you look at the statistics from the London Marathon and the percentage of women that then were running the year after, that individual spike from 2003 to 2004, that run, I believe, changed the conversation on women's running. And it really is an amazing athletic performance, but it actually has a lot more resonance than that. And so I'm absolutely delighted to say that Paula is one of the recipients of the Spirit of London Award, and that award is celebrating the true spirit of London, the true spirit of the marathon that again Paula talked about last year in her commentary. Yeah, I really could not be more delighted, and that she had her farewell race here again in 2015, and what that meant to the British crowd, what that meant to us
It meant to me
as an event organiser. So I'm delighted, Paula, that you will be one of the first recipients of this award. The awards will take place in May, but thank you very much for all that you have done in the Spirit of London, all that you have done for marathon running, all that you've done for women's running, and it is a privilege to be able to award you this.
Thank you.
And Hugh, this specially minted coin that is awarded to recipients. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it has an image on the front of Dick Beardsley and Inga Simonson hand in hand, and again that image. I'd sold the train tickets in 1981, and I didn't really know what was going on. I was 15. My dad had just organised, along with John Disley, this thing that was happening in our house. It was actually happening in Richmond Park, not quite the house, but and then the next day there's the front page of the Daily Mail, and that was the image on the front page of the Daily Mail, and you're suddenly going, okay, something really big did happen, and that changed marathon running. I mean, the first London Marathon, what John Disley and my father created on the back of their visit to New York, so that image is so much the London Marathon. And then the reverse of the coin is the Durando Petrie Trophy. And that trophy, as we talked about on Tuesday, the first time the marathon distance became 26 miles, 385 yards, was when the race was started from Windsor Castle by the Queen, the now Queen's grandmother. So the historical significance, and in a context also the spirit of London and what London has gone through in the last 12 months. We had the backdrop of the terrorist atrocity on Westminster Bridge, then what happened on London Bridge, and I think we've also had Grenfell Tower, and the firefighters are running the marathon. Charlie Guinecourt, the policeman who was stabbed on London Bridge. And what marathon running does that is so unique is it brings people together, it brings communities together. And that spirit of the marathon, the spirit of London, is why we think this is fitting, why those images are fitting on the coin, and why we're so delighted also that Paula is one of the recipients.
Now, your dad ran London. It wasn't the first one, was it?
No, it wasn't the first one. He ran, I think it was 85, 86, or 84, 85.
So there's quite a nice family link going back more than a few years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is my kind of abiding memory of growing up was actually being on the streets of London, watching first English Christensen run past en route to set the world record, and then watching my dad and just watching the carnival that was London Marathon then, and then growing up every year watching it on the TV, getting my run done in time so I'd be back in time to watch the race, and then just dreaming one day of getting a chance to be able to run in it. So then to get the opportunity to run it and for it to go so amazingly well, and to create so many happy memories kind of on the streets of London and with marathon in general.
And throughout your career, all the track races you ran, you won a few golds and you got a few seconds and thirds, but it seems like all those years through Seville in '99 and Munich in 2002, it was you were serving an apprenticeship for the marathon distance, which is really where you found your event, found your home. Were you kind of aware of that in the latter years of your track career, that actually the marathon was waiting for you?
Yeah, I think we were aware from, well, reasonably early on, so 1992, before I went to Boston for the World Junior Cross Country. I started working with Andy Jones, and he had looked at my physiology and he said ultimately you're going to end up at the marathon. But myself and Alex sat down and we planned through everything, and we felt that I wanted to reach my potential on the track first, because I didn't know I was going to ultimately run faster on the track. After I'd moved to the marathon, I wanted to tick it off, and in particular, I wanted to get that World Cross Country before I moved to the marathon. So that's why I think one of my sweetest victories of all time is the World Cross Country one in 2001, because that meant I could kind of move to the marathon with a clean sheet and just go in with nothing to lose and explore it and see how it is. Because you can be told you're going to be good at the marathon, but until you run it, you don't really experience it and you don't really know. So you find that out in the first one, and I just found out that I loved it from beginning to end, and the minute I crossed the line, I was planning the next one.
But the way you reset thinking on marathon running, with your world record now 2:15:25 still out of reach, has anybody ever called you the sort of Usain Bolt of marathon running, in that you've readjusted thinking?
I think I'm probably the furthest end of the spectrum from Usain Bolt that you can get to. But no, I mean, I think...
But that's what you've done, you've readjusted perceptions, because Usain's run 9.5. It used to be special to run under 10 seconds now. And your 2:15 has made sub 2:20. Your 2:19 is 4 minutes away.
I think when you're in it, you don't really think about it. We didn't really think about aiming for times. We just tried to run faster than I had previously done. So even in 2003, I wasn't aiming to run 2:15. I was aiming to beat 2:16, because we felt like my training was that much better than the preparation for Chicago. So I felt like I could go sub 2:16. But the only plan I went in with was to hit as many mile splits as possible under the average mile split of Chicago, and just keep adding it in the bag.
And were you aware, I mean, when you ran that 2:15, because it was so special, it's one of the 2 or 3 top outliers in the sport, I think, of track and field and road running. Were you aware of your split at halfway? Were you sort of calculating all the time? And
well, because I'd run in 2002, and in 2002 I was still very much learning about it, so I think I ran with the pack until around the Cutty Sark, and then just the amount of volume of sport behind and the energy around Cutty Sark. I came out the other side and had a gap, and I hadn't intended to break away. But my dad used to say when I was a little kid, once you've got a gap, don't give it up, just keep going. So I kept pushing on, and I ran very substantial negative splits that day and had no idea what time I was on for. It was only when I turned the mile that I realised that I was within reach of the world record at the time. And I didn't even know it was a women's only world record, because that didn't exist then in 2002. So I just crossed the line and thought, okay, I can definitely get that world record, and the easiest way to run it is to run negative splits. So I did that in Chicago, and I went through I think it was about 68.09 halfway in 2003, because I knew that it was easier to run the second half quicker. I then just tried to pick it up slightly from there, but I had no idea if I'd actually picked it up. I just knew I'd hit a couple of mile splits that were very fast in the second half.
Hugh, Catherine Sweeney's in running and race numbers are climbing all the time. Do you know the data for Sunday? What percentage are women?
Until we actually get the finishers' figures, we won't know. What I do know is last year we had a world record number of applicants, which was 387,000 people. For the people that have never run a marathon before, that was 191,000 of them, and 51% of those were women. So more women were applying as a percentage of first-time runners than ever before. And again, it really is, anecdotally, more women are running, full stop, than men are. Running is just such a great sport, it's so accessible. I think it's so fantastic for kids to get involved in. We've got to help the obesity crisis in this country, and seeing like Paula and people wanting to run and be Paula, and kids wanting to be that is again, it just brings joy to your face.
Hashtag be Paula.
Yes.
That's an idea. Paula, are you aware of this? I mean, do you get constantly badgered by, not badgered, but ladies coming up to you saying thank you so much, and you've done a great job, and women's running?
Yeah, I think that is one of the most special things when we talk about the spirit of London and the spirit of the marathon. It's that camaraderie that I don't think you get in any other sport, and even within athletics, I don't think you get as much as you do in the marathon. There's not another event where 35,000 upwards people will go out and run and largely go through the same emotions. Everybody knows you start a marathon, you're going to go through at least one rough spot. You're going to really appreciate the crowd at this point. You're going to have to really knuckle down and concentrate and get through it, and then you're going to finish and you will have learned something about yourself. You will be a stronger, better person than you were when you started the race. And I think that's what brings people together. You can identify so much with the people around you, and in 2015, that's why one of the most special races that I've run, even though I wasn't actually racing, because I got to experience the mass race side of it. I got to experience what that was like. And while it's very special, leading at the front and being and setting the world record, it's equally special sharing in that emotion and helping people and encouraging people, and the amount of people within the race who will encourage each other through those tough spots. That's what makes it special.
And you just can't lose it. You're still running, aren't you? Even though your feet are a mess, you've had operations galore. Didn't you run most days?
Yeah, I ran here. So I was like, I've been and run with the children in need group who are running.
So you're kind of a Ron Hill character who just got running in your blood. You just love to run.
Yeah.
Because I never had that. I began to find running a bit of a chore, but you just can't stop.
Well, I think the thing is, for me, it's different now. It's not like I have to go out and I have to do a certain run. I don't even start my watch most days, and I run how I feel. And I like the social side of it. I love to run with the kids. I like to run with my friends. And sometimes if I've just got a lot on my mind and I just want to clear my head and not talk to anyone, just have my time or sort something out that I need to think through, then I'll just go out for a run. And I've never come back from a run and felt worse than I did before I went. And I think that's more what I use it for now, rather than trying to be fit and I'm never going to set a personal best now. So I'm not trying to do that, I'm just trying to enjoy it, and I think that's what a huge proportion of people who take part in the London Marathon are trying to do. They're just trying to feel better, and it's that feel-good factor that it brings, and that extends beyond the people that have run it to all the good that's done for charity, but also we're all much better people if we go for a run for the people that we live with on a day-to-day basis.
Just very quickly, I'll open it up to questions. Any questions for Paula and or Hugh? Yes, Hugh. We've got mics. Sorry, Hugh, and if you could wait.
Mary Katani's been very forthcoming about the fact that she has your record in her sights. What do you expect to see happen on Sunday, and is it a matter of time before it's overtaken it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always been a matter of time, and when you set a record, you probably don't. I never thought that it would stand. For 15 years. I can remember when I crossed the line, I can remember seeing Dave Bedford at the end, and he was saying, oh, I'm not going to see that beaten for a while, and I thought I could beat it at that point. I thought I could still improve on it, and the marathon's very much about getting it right on the day, and how that pans out. You need good conditions, you need to have obviously done the training and be in shape, and you need a little bit of luck on the day as well. But yeah, the longer it's gone on, obviously the more attached I've become to it, and it's started to feel a little bit like part of the family. But it's inevitable it's going to get beaten at some point, and I think this last year, the way that Mary ran, I thought for a lot of that race that it was under threat, and so I think she's capable. I think first and foremost though, she has to concentrate on running the race, winning the race, because very much I think she has a race on her hands against Tirunesh Dibaba, and Tirunesh is equally capable of taking the time. So I don't think we should talk about it just as Mary Katani going after it. I think it's the both of them.
Yes, Johnny.
Yeah.
Paula, throughout your professional career, you're always very outspoken against, doping, that sort of thing. And I know that some people, when they see the time, it's just so far out in front that they wonder, how this couldn't possibly have been done clean. But you've always been, very outspoken against anything doping. I'm wondering, when people question your record, do you think that the fact that others are now approaching it and that people are talking about it being broken again, does that make you feel vindicated at all?
No, because I didn't feel guilty in the first place, because I know that I worked very, very hard for that, and I ran it clean, and I'm proud of that, and I will always know that. So it wouldn't make me feel vindicated, and it's like catch-22. People say, oh, if they beat your time, then that'll mean that you're vindicated, but I was never guilty of anything in the first place, and I would just say, would I rather keep my record? And people are always going to say things, people are always going to try and accuse of things, so I wouldn't swap my record for that in the same way that I wouldn't swap my record for an Olympic gold. It is what it is. I worked very hard for it, I'm very proud of it.
Yes.
Paula, the sport really needs people with your experience and intelligence. What are your plans in terms of keeping involved at the higher levels of administering the sport?
Well, at the moment I've kind of got a lot of different hats. I work, so I consult for the Athletics Integrity Unit, which is actually celebrating its first birthday today, and I'm very proud to be associated with that. It's something that, as Jonathan said, I've felt very strongly about my whole career. I really believe that athletics is a beautiful sport, and that the clean athletes out there are the most important people in the sport, and they have a right to be protected, and they have a right to be able to prove that they're clean and to compete on a level playing field. And I think that the Athletics Integrity Unit is revolutionising the way and leading the way for other sports in terms of, on the integrity of all levels, but particularly in anti-doping. I think the World Marathon Majors are really working with that and trying to achieve that, like I say, central aim of protecting the clean athletes as much as possible. So I work with them, I commentate, and if you can't be out there competing, then the next best seat is to be commentating on it, and you've kind of got the best seat in the house, and very privileged to be able to watch some outstanding performances firsthand and try and do a good job at commentating on them. And then I think being a mum, being involved in local athletics races, ambassador for different races, still an ambassador for Nike, and being involved with just trying to encourage as many people as possible to be involved in our sport and to have a good experience within our sport.
Can I just add on that athletics integrity unit? I mean, that is a partnership that London Marathon is very proud to have as part of that with World Marathon Majors. And as Paula said, if we do not have a sport with integrity, we don't actually have a sport. It is so important. The cheats do not have a place, and the athletics integrity unit is a great initiative, and we're delighted to support it. And I just really wanted to emphasise that. Yes,
Paul, at 2:15.25, it's not just way faster than anyone else in history, but it's also quite a bit faster than your second fastest time. I'm wondering what was so special about that race, your preparation, and what went into running so much faster than even you had ever done?
I think, as I said, I built on the preparation that I had for Chicago. Chicago wasn't ideal conditions by any means, so already in better conditions I knew I could run better. I think for me, running on the streets of London, I talked afterwards to Haile Gebrselassie, to Paul Turgat, and they said you need to go to Berlin, you'll run quicker, you'll run way quicker in Berlin. I said no, for me, London is the fastest course because of the sport and because of the history that it personally had for me. I think there wasn't a more inspirational course that I could run on. So absolutely, I came into that wanting to run the record on home ground, having done by far the best preparation up to that point of my life, so I knew I was in really good shape. I think I did get into better shape in training afterwards, but it didn't coincide with the race, and that's why I say it's so key in the marathon. You have to be in the right shape at the right time, and it's a very, very fine line. So before Athens, I was probably in as good, if not better shape, but I couldn't hold it to the race. I got injured and I wasn't able to perform to that level. And then I think in 2005, yeah, the build-up wasn't ideal. It wasn't ideal on race day either, but I still ran a 2:17:40, 42 there.
Well, I actually have two questions. First is a record in comparison to a medal. What does that mean?
I think the performance is the performance, and do you mean would I rather have swapped that for a medal at some point, or do I rate my world championship?
Yeah, how do you see that? What does a record mean? I mean, it's a comparison over time and continents.
I think it depends what your goal is. I mean, some people are championship racers. We're all aiming to achieve the dreams that we set out, and when I was 11 starting out, I kind of had two dreams. I watched Ingrid Christensen that day, and I wanted to one day run as well as she did, and to run well over the marathon. And I also watched the Los Angeles Olympics and wanted to win an Olympic medal. And I think goals I formulated throughout my career, I just wanted to be able to finish my career and say, yeah, I achieved what I was capable of. That was the best I was capable of doing. And I think on that day in 2003, everything came together, and it came very, very close to being the best that I was capable of doing. So that's why I kept working as hard as I did in the closing stages. That's why my head was going as hard as it was there, because I was very conscious of the fact that I might never get this again. I might never get a day where everything comes together. I'm in this shape, the conditions are good, things go to plan in the race, and this is kind of that Blue Ribbon moment that you want to achieve. So I wanted to put the record out there as much as possible so that it had a chance for standing as long as it did. And then I went into championship races and I wanted to get those championships, and maybe I wanted the Olympics a little bit too much and overcooked it a little bit too much in training. Maybe it's just bad luck, but I don't believe in having regrets, because we try our best to do what we can. And I have the World Championship, and I have times that were probably as fast as I was capable of doing. I mean, my 3,000 metre PB was probably above what I felt I was capable of doing.
Will you be sad when somebody else takes it on Sunday?
Well, I'd be sad. I mean, I think it'd be a little bit sad, yeah, but I think it's always going to be my personal best, and it's always going to be something that I'm very proud of, that I know that the whole team around me worked very, very hard to achieve, and that won't ever be taken away.
My second question, Paula, you just said that the athletes are the most important people in sports. When you look at sports in general...
That's the clean athletes.
Oh, sorry, yes, of course, we have to be correct. Clean athletes are the most important. do you have the impression that all federations and all organizations in sport regard it the same way as you do? And if, as I presume, it's not that way, what should athletes do actually right now?
I think, no, you're right. A lot of people lose sight, certainly within the hierarchies of the sports. Sometimes they forget that it's actually about the athletes. It's about the parents who want to take their children down to the local athletics club and get them involved in the sport, and want to know that they're going to be on a pathway where they're going to be able to achieve as much as they're capable of achieving, and aren't going to be cheated and aren't going to be offered ways to cheat either. And it's about protecting those. And I think that if I look back now on the beginning of my career and the willingness of athletes then to stand up and say, hey, we're not happy with this, we want more done to protect the clean athletes and to protect the athletes within the sport, it's a lot better nowadays. People are much more willing to stand up and to demand that of the way that the sport is run. And I think because of that, people are, within the federations are listening a lot more and trying to do more also to protect athletes.
Yes, at the back there.
I just wondered that with the near record temperatures coming this weekend for the marathon in London, with the fun runners later in the day, the hotter it gets, unfortunately the slower you are, the more you're going to be affected. I wonder just how tough you think it will be for those people around the 4, 5, 6 hour mark, the ones who are going to have to deal with the hotter conditions.
I mean, I think it is going to be cooler. I think you're right, yeah, it's not going to be a factor at all really for the elite races, but for those people that are out there through the heat of the middle of the day and hanging around at the start, just heed the advice that's been given, reassess your goals and your target times a little bit, make sure that you hydrate in the days leading up, not just in the race, and not when you start to feel thirsty, before you feel thirsty, and really concentrate on doing that. Take advantage of all of the things out on the course, the showers, to be water over your head, but also be smart with that. Don't just take a bottle, tip a little bit, share it around and make sure that there is enough water left for the people behind you in the race.
Johnny. We'll take a couple more questions.
Paula, your husband's now coaching Mo Farah. I was wondering, has Mo asked you for any advice, or have you offered him any advice before this marathon, and what do you make of his chances on Sunday?
I haven't actually spoken to Mo during this stint of training. I've spoken to Gary obviously a lot, and I know that the training's gone really well, and I think that for him, I think he very much wants to be in the mix and racing, but he sees it as kind of a stepping stone. I think number one is to run a personal best, number two to be competitive in the race. If he can get the British record, maybe the European record, I think they're goals that he's looking at. But I think he's just enjoyed the change in focus. Instead of him being the person that everybody's talking about and everybody's watching in the race, he's not in that situation now. So I think he's enjoying that. It's a little bit like going back in time, and he's coming into 2011, 2010 track championships, and he's not the marked man, he's the person who's coming in just to see what he can do.
Any further questions? Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Paula, congratulations again.
Thank you.